Hi everyone, and welcome to an episode of Trident Talks. I'm Josh, the director here at Trident Search, and today I'm joined by Jordan Cheal, the SOC lead at CallSign, and Chris Morgan, the senior intelligence analyst at Digital Shadows. Hi guys, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So today, very kind of short, sharp video, an episode about how the rise of NFTs. And to help our listeners and viewers kind of stay safe online and what to look out for and how cyber criminals are kind of utilizing NFTs for their own benefit and gain. Chris, would you mind just kind of jumping in and explaining to everybody what is an NFT?
Sure. So an NFT is a non-fungible token, which I think have really come into prominence in the last year in particular, but they have actually been in existence since around 2014, which was kind of news to me. But essentially they exist as a digital receipt recording ownership of digital and physical items. So most commonly this includes artwork, so digital artwork online, videos, wearables, or other objects that are on a blockchain. And I think most people have kind of suggested that they essentially have allowed regular people to sort of enter the world of art ownership, which I guess typically was a space reserved for like the wealthy. But I think a lot of people, when they think of NFTs, they kind of think of like like the Monkey series and like other highly inflated prices on sort of NFT assets. And I think there is something to that. Some of them are being sold for kind of a bit of a ridiculous price. But while that does raise eyebrows in many ways, I do think there's a kind of a use case for online ownership of items in a very increasingly digital world. So it's one that's developing, but yeah, an interesting kind of development in the last few years, I think.
Nice. I think the very basic form of it was back to like kind of Fortnite games and stuff, right? The skins, and which we didn't call NFTs or they just weren't known as that, but the principle's still the same, right? Remains the same to a certain degree. Jordan, why then are NFTs so attractive to criminals or cyber criminals online? Obviously, we'll go into the kind of different varieties of how they benefit from it, but just generally, is there a particular reason why NFTs are kind of like the go-to at the moment?
Yeah, so I think there's a few reasons really. Let's assume the main motivation behind criminal behavior is financial gain, right? This kind of brings a huge new market of targets to a digital space. So NFTs are so hyped at the moment that people have fear of missing out. So they just FOMO into something without really looking into how to secure a wallet, how to get a wallet, what not to click. FOMO is really big with things like this. So when there's a really big, large scale, so you mentioned the Ape series of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. If they're releasing like the new land sale, which was the other day, scammers know they can just fire loads of links on Twitter with a similar name and people are going to click because items sell out now in minutes. If you're not quick to click, you're going to miss out. That's one really big reason. Another way is the money's no longer fiat currency. They don't have to worry about setting up a bank account. They don't have to worry about transferring money, trying to get the cash out, right? All they have to do is steal the token, steal your private key, get you to forward the money. That's it. They have it. It's so easy to set up a crypto wallet. You can have thousands of accounts and just move the money all over the place so you can't track it. You can anonymously withdraw it through black market trades. There's loads of countries that let you cash out crypto at obviously higher exchange rates, but it just helps wash the money. And then on top of all this, if you think about the actual technical development side of things, as Chris mentioned, NFTs have been around for a while, right? They've been around since 2014, but we haven't known about them since then. Now they've got all these eyeballs on them. We haven't been able to keep up with that trend, as in our processes, our security measures, nothing is in line with the amount of people that is adopted so fast. So what that's doing is it's putting a lot of pressure on developers and project owners to quickly write smart contracts, not to write them securely, to get them pushed out as fast as possible. There's still the lack of education piece with the project owners as to what a smart contract really is. All they see is the output, which is called a smart contract, but they don't understand it's a program. Code can be written many different ways. It could be written efficiently, securely, or it could be written horribly, but still kind of work at the end of it. But it's just to do things cheaply. So you can have all these insecure smart contracts, which allow attackers to change like the wallets, for example. Yeah, there's loads of vulnerabilities at the moment, and it's just a huge attack surface. That's essentially it.
Nice. So I suppose in summary there, it's new for most people. It's confusing. It's a lot of FOMO and fastest finger on the trigger wins, so to speak. And then also it's unregulated, right? It's lawless. It's very similar to the crypto world. If not, sorry, Chris, were you going to say something?
I was literally going to echo exactly what you said there. So it's this kind of unregulated Wild West of a combination of a lot of money being processed, emerging tech that's moving in a very, very quick way, and like naive investors that, as Jordan says, they don't want to miss out. And with everything changing so quickly, with that volatility, there obviously is opportunity for investors, but there also is likewise for cyber criminals as well. It exists for them too.
So yeah, absolutely. So moving on then to kind of a few kind of now the topics or the key ways that these cyber criminals are leveraging the everyday Joe, right? So we look at money laundering, wash trading, etc. We know money laundering comes from the days of Al Capone. He was quite literally laundering money, and that's how he was washing all his dirty cash. So how does that now? How is that reflected online? What is wash trading?
I could take that one. So yeah, money laundering is one of the big areas that we explored on the blog I issued recently, which with wash trading referring to a transaction in which the seller is on both sides of the account. So they have both the selling cryptocurrency account and also the buyer account. And in the case of kind of NFT wash trading, the goal would be to make an NFT appear to be more valuable than it actually is by selling it to a new wallet the original owner also controls. So essentially, they can do this because a lot of these NFT platforms don't have these identification processes, don't have know your customer processes in place. So they can't spot the fact that this is, essentially a fraudulent transaction. So, they could, potentially put this through and use it as a means to process illicit transactions that they've received from another process. They might be able to kind of artificially increase the price of NFT. And then, we've seen this on cybercriminal forums in the last week, users suggesting, oh, well, I've got, $2 million. I've processed this washed NFT. I now have, the original $2 million that I supposedly put through this transaction. I have an NFT that's worth $2 million. And then I can go sell this onto another unsuspecting third party, perhaps at a reduced price of 50%, and then they can process that as a massive profit. There's going to be gas fees as well, because most of these NFT platforms have some fee that they're required to process a transaction, but removing that gas fee, they still have a massive profit. So it ultimately comes down to kind of the identification issues, but we know that cryptocurrency in general and NFTs have been associated with a lot of these money laundering practices, and wash trading is one of the big ones at the moment.
Nice. Jordan, we're seeing more marketplaces are bringing in or introducing KYC and identification processes. Why aren't they all doing that? Is it going to put off users and buyers, and they're going to go to a different marketplace? And that's the beauty of having a kind of disassociated kind of ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it from like the marketplace perspective, right? And OpenSea is the biggest marketplace right now. We have Coinbase coming out. That's going to be a close competitor. But for now, for Solana newly and ETH-based transactions, OpenSea is the marketplace. They would never have got that far if there wasn't this much wash trading. They would never have got this far if there wasn't that many bad projects, scam projects, if there wasn't all this bad practice. They want the volume, right? If they start cutting this out, the cyber criminals are going to move somewhere else. And the cyber criminals at the start moved most of the money. It's kind of bad business, I think, if you look at it from that perspective. So it's kind of what you do. Do you, I suppose, allow the bad practice and just grow as fast as you can and then fix it later? Or do you let somebody else take that opportunity? It's kind of a tough question for them as to what they actually do. But yeah, there's no real easy answer there.
Be interesting to see the percentage split of legit transactions on those marketplaces versus fraudulent. Obviously, that will never be released, or I don't know how you quantify it, but it'd be insane.
No, but one interesting metric I'd like to see is how much new money is actually going into NFT marketplaces.
Circulated.
Exactly. That's probably something we could figure out just using like Etherscan, for example. I'm sure Chris has some smart devs tucked away somewhere that might want to work on a project part-time.
That would be a very interesting project to do. I was just going to say Chainalysis, I'm probably mispronounced the name. They did a really good report on kind of the association between NFTs and cybercrime. And I think they had a lot of these observations in there about the amount of new money coming in and kind of, is it, you know, wash trading or is it legitimate transactions? So, you know, potentially one to check out if you're interested in that. I just want to say on the identification issue as well, you know, ultimately those who are involved in illicit trading, they're probably going to understand the process for acquiring fake IDs as well. You know, that's a massive issue, and how to get around these processes. So, you know, realistically, it does make a difference in, you know, kind of stopping wash trading, you know, in what users can actually do, you know, with their legitimate external facing profiles, but it's probably not going to stamp out illegal activity in its entirety, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even if we have a look in the past week or two with the Other Deeds release, so this is Bored Ape Yacht Club, or they belong to the company called Yuga Labs. Yuga Labs have this huge hyped up project where they're going to be selling the land in their metaverse called Other Deeds. Before the release, they mentioned that it's only going to be available to KYC'd wallets. And they had a very strict time frame to get those KYC'd. Huge debate in the crypto NFT Twitter space. A lot of FUDing going on the project. Obviously, they still sold out and did tremendously well, aside from the gas fees and breaking Etherscan. But what you also noticed was, and I never saw this before, I live on Twitter, was people were selling KYC'd wallets just for this mint. There's always going to be a way around it. And then when people see opportunity, that's what they're going to do. They don't have the money to mint the land themselves, but they have the time and the effort to go through the KYC verification process and then sell their wallets. One problem here, right? If you don't change your seed phrase and you buy somebody else's wallet, you've then just paid them for a wallet they could potentially recover later on. This is one piece, again, users were just jumping straight onto because they didn't want to miss out.
Yeah, insane. Nice. Okay, moving on to rug pulls. If you don't know what they are, or I don't know what they are, could you explain what the term rug pull means, please, Chris?
Yeah, sure. So in the crypto space, the rug pull is a process in which a startup or an influencer promotes a crypto token, an NFT, or a decentralized autonomous organization project. They solicit public investment and then they vanish with the cash, or kind of stop updating the project. And essentially what they're doing is they're artificially inflating the price of an asset before, you know, selling the holdings before an investor can actually react to that. And I guess in traditional finance, this would be known as like insider trading or kind of market manipulation. And, you know, we've seen a lot of this, you know, actors kind of creating their own coins and requesting PR for them with the aim of getting like a meme coin listed on a cryptocurrency exchange. You know, a lot of kind of Russian cybercriminal actors have been discussing this, and as part of the research we've been doing, you know, methods that they can get around to get a meme coin listed on an exchange, you know, how they can actually get this advertised in a legitimate fashion, and then kind of pull that rug from investors before they've had a chance to notice that it's fake. And again, it probably comes back to the point we were making earlier about, you know, the fact that the cryptocurrency industry is just so rapidly moving, and it's often kind of difficult to identify what's a legitimate project versus a, you know, a fake one.
Yeah, I think also, surely it's a matter of time before we have the first kind of big public leak of a celebrity being used by cyber criminals to advertise hype, Twitter feeds, Instagram, millions of followers, to then be a rug pull. I don't know if it's already happened, but yeah, of course it has.
I'm just thinking of that. What was that show on Netflix? The FYRE Festival. Did you guys watch that one? That was almost like a rug pull in a party kind of festival manner.
But that's a really good point. And think about all the backlash that happened from FYRE Festival, right? People were then complaining that these models were promoting something, but that's what they get paid to do. And then their argument, the model's argument, were, well, if we promote a BMW, we don't have a look mechanically how the car works. If somebody goes and has a car accident in that BMW, are we going to be held liable for this? And it's kind of, where do you find the balance there? But then, like, from that perspective, look at all these influencers and celebrities, and everybody knows who they are. As soon as you see their name on something, you're like, okay, scam project, because they get paid to. I could give them $1,000 to promote this, my AirPods, that make a story, that put link in bio for 24 hours, one photo on the tile, and that's it. But yeah, they're cutting their ties. They're burning their bridges with this developing world of Web3. because they're still young, right? A lot of these guys are doing all these promotional works and not looking into what they're doing, just accepting money, just hyping something up, getting paid under the table as well, not declaring it as a paid promotion, like the NFT Instagram page, for example. There's loads of things that are going wrong with their practice. They're still young and they still have a lot longer left in their career. They're now burning the bridges with the real guys and the real serious investors and the real projects that are going to be the projects of the future. There's no way these guys will be touched in the future. But for now, they're just making quick bucks, and it's so easy for them.
Yeah, I agree. Wasn't it Ja Rule, I think, for Firefest?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Out of nowhere. No one had heard from him for like 20 years.
I think he's doing a second one. I keep hearing. And you know what? That's the thing with me, FOMO as well. I'm going to FOMO myself into buying a ticket for that, and I will go 100%. I'll pack my sandwiches.
I couldn't believe the prices they were advertising for the tickets from like $150,000 or something.
The result of it was amazing, crazy. So then you got fake marketplaces as well. They are what they are. I don't think we have to talk too much about them. Yeah, it's quite self-explanatory. Then kind of going back to the cybery world, malware, ransomware, again, back to kind of FOMO, the fast pace of the market and quick messaging, quick links being sent out, especially via Twitter. I'm guessing there's quite a lot of that going on, clicking links that then obviously upload malware, either get access to your private keys or general access to, well, whatever they want, really. Chris, are you seeing a lot of that at DS?
Yeah, so there's been reporting of kind of NFTs used as a conduit to spread malware. So I think you talked about OpenSea earlier. I think that was as a result of malware being used to kind of empty users of their wallets. I don't think we've seen too many examples of kind of ransomware being spread via NFTs or perhaps items masquerading as NFTs, but it's certainly something that's feasible. They could be used in a very traditional sense as like phishing bait or otherwise containing malware that ransomware actors could use to facilitate initial access or at a targeted company. And then there's other malware that's kind of associated with NFTs that they're very much work in a similar fashion to kind of your typical information stealers by stealing information that's stored in browsers, credentials, cookies, but also information related to kind of crypto assets. So, for example, one I was reading about this morning, the Mars stealer that apparently can grab crypto private keys, even if 2FA is enabled. So, quite an interesting bit of kit. But again, it's kind of traditional cyber threats that are just targeting emerging technology. It's all the same kind of thing. It's just on a new type of tech, really.
It'll be interesting to see how malware develops as we move on, because at this stage we're so early on in the Web3 and kind of NFT journey. I think it's such almost a waste of time for someone to go out and develop malware specifically for stealing credentials, stealing private keys, all this sort of stuff, because phishing links are so effective now. Just jumping onto Discord servers, even hacking Discord moderators and then submitting a link from a trusted entity who's a moderator. These are huge scams that go on every single day. They're so successful, it's almost a waste of effort to develop malware specifically for this still at this time. I think as we educate users more and more and it becomes harder for the cyber criminals, then we'll probably eventually start seeing more malware developed for this purpose.
Nice. Jordan, just a bit of passion for you, as I know, is around smart contracts and the development of that. Are cyber criminals using those and kind of like hidden percentages, hidden fees, or have you got anything to kind of talk about on smart contracts?
Yeah, for sure. Smart contracts it's a weird one because everything's built around the smart contract, right? But that's kind of the last thing project owners kind of think of. They think we'll get a Solidity developer, they'll develop the contract. We just think about everything else, the marketing, the hype, all this sort of stuff. But they don't really pay that much attention to smart contracts. It's crazy to see how many haven't been audited by a proper auditing firm. It's crazy to see how people take the audit reports, how they don't optimize gas as well. Again, it's a computer program, right? This is where you need to put the efforts. But I think so. One of the big risk areas is people don't know where to find Solidity developers. They're rare, especially the really good ones. They're rare, and then if you find them, they're expensive, and if you have the money, they're busy. So they're really inaccessible at the moment. So people just go on websites like Upwork and FYRE, and they just type smart contract. And you see a guy that's charging $300 for a smart contract, and you think, wow, I can make $30 million just by spending $300. That's a pretty good deal, right? But then what you don't realize, a lot of these guys are also malicious actors who are genuine smart contract developers, but they know that they're dealing with a project owner that doesn't know tech, or that can't read code, they can put something in the code where they distribute the funds to their own wallet and not to the project owner's wallet. It's just really small things like this that they can have within that smart contract. Luckily, the community around Web3 is really good. So when you start seeing a really hyped up project, you have all these rug pull finders, you have all these security researchers, and they do assessments, because you have to write your smart contract to the blockchain. It is for public view. You can then verify it on Etherscan, and people can go through the code. But then by that point, it's usually too late. So we have a look at the recent smart contract, whoopsie, I like to call it. It was Akutar's, amazing company, really experienced owners, something that people would back, right? They had everything there. You're betting on like the artwork, you're betting on the roadmap, you're betting on the project owners, everything makes sense. But they didn't put enough time on the smart contract. I was told they were warned on their Discord that there were some problems with it, but essentially, long story short, there were 3 vulnerabilities. One was exploited by a white hat hacker who then stopped the exploit mid-mint and just told them, this is a warning, you guys need to pay attention. But essentially, long story short, all of the money, I think it was something like $30 million just from their mint, was locked. It was locked and you just couldn't recover it. And that's enough to kill a project. In this case, the project owners had enough backing and they had enough experience between them to actually quickly develop a new smart contract, mint it all themselves. They refunded everybody for all the issues, and they airdropped the NFTs. The project's still ongoing, but it's just a huge learning experience that even looking at the most like talented and experienced teams and people that you would back, they still make the small mistakes, and it's usually starting with the smart contract.
Just take it back one step. What is a smart contract?
Yeah, so essentially it's code, right? It's a computer program that's written onto a blockchain. The most popular blockchain that we're using at the moment for NFTs specifically is Ethereum. So you have different types of smart contracts. We won't go into like the technical details. The most common one you would likely see on things like OpenSea would be a ERC 721 or ERC 721 Alpha smart contract. ERC 721 Alpha, I love. It's basically a smart contract for NFT purposes for a project. So a collection of assets, if you like. You'll specify within the contract how many assets there's going to be. So 10,000 maximum. You can give it a whitelist price, which is really popular, a public mint price. You can tell it you want to do a Dutch auction. The reason why it's smart is because you give it predetermined fields and functions, and it calls everything itself. So you just write it and it just executes everything as you've programmed it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then just to finish, I've loved this episode. It's been amazing. Very, very interesting. But just to help the viewers, the listeners stay safe if they are going to kind of dabble in NFTs and spend either life savings or $500, whichever one's higher, on an NFT. How would I stay safe if I was going to click a link on Twitter? Because I've got loads of hype around that new digital asset. It's a picture of, I don't know, LeBron James. How do I stay safe?
I'll start by just saying I think that maybe, you know, as you would expect, sticking to many of the cyber hygiene basics can really make a massive demonstrable difference in minimizing many of these risks and these threats. You know, so using, you know, multi-factor authentication, you know, regularly updating your software, making sure that you're aware of the significant risks from social engineering and all the techniques that are used. And as well, like password management, it sounds like a really, really basic thing. I'm actually writing a paper at the moment about account takeover, and you'd just be surprised how easy it is for password crackers to brute force a weak password. You know, same with credential stuffing. It's just very, very easy to do if you have weak passwords that are used across multiple accounts. You know, one simple breach of another third-party service, and before you know it, you know, they're into your NFTs and they've emptied your wallet. And other things like, you know, making sure that, you know, from a crypto perspective at least, you know, if you're not trading, making sure that your crypto and your NFTs is on a cold storage wallet, like Ledger or Trezor. You know, hardware wallets, you know, they provide the best security because, you know, your wallet data is completely stored offline, you know, protected by a device password as well. And these wallets generally have the ability to restore device content as well if it's stolen or lost. So just making sure it's on those cold storage wallets as well is a really, really good step.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. One-click links. It's the biggest one that people fall victim to. But then if you are really hygienic with your wallets, then it doesn't really matter at that point. And that's where Chris said, yeah, have your cold and your hot wallet. People even take it far enough to have your cold wallet, your cold wallet, your cold wallet, your hot wallet, your warm wallet, and your lukewarm wallet. And this all depends on how much money you're actually investing, right? And how much of your wallet or your private keys you want to give up to an internet-facing site. But even my MetaMask account, whenever I connect to websites, I always make sure I disconnect, no matter what it is, because sometimes, yeah, I do put like a bit of cash in there and I don't know what I'm connecting to, because you use that for minting, right? That has to have some money into it. But then on top of that, it's kind of how to spot fake projects. I think this is like the biggest user awareness piece on how to stay safe with your money, because there's so many fake projects that are online at the moment. So just small things like you'll see a lot of hype. You'll see 400,000 followers on Twitter and Instagram, and they'll have 1 million people on their Discord. But have a look at the engagement, because people buy followers, they buy likes, they buy all this sort of stuff. Have a look at the comments, the sentiment around the project. Are the team doxed? So are there actual names behind these people, not just doxed, but what have they done? What have they accomplished in their life? Can they run a business? Because essentially this is what an NFT is. It's a business. It isn't just, I don't want to invest in a project that's just going to die off straight away. I want longevity. I want to have a look at the roadmap. And do I think that they have the capability and the motivation to actually execute that? That's kind of the big things I'd have a look into.
Awesome. Good advice. Jordan, Chris, thank you very much for your time. It was really good. Super enjoyed this episode. Thanks.
Me too. Thanks, Josh. Pleasure.
Thanks.